listening to the Money Monopolizers podcast, helping you take control of your financial destiny. It's about time that we invest more in our financial literacy and work towards building generational wealth. If you think you're ready to do the same, then you've come to the right place. Alex, Marlon, y'all ready? Let's get this bread.
What's good, everybody? It's Alex Kamunya here, and we're back with episode 68 of the Money Monopolizers podcast, and I'm here with my co-host, Marlon Walls. Marlon, how you doing today? Happy New Year. This is the first episode of the year, so, not our fault.
Oh, boy, not our fault, I swear.
Coming on the 21st.
We had like two others already.
Yeah, the episode we recorded on the 7th, that was recorded at the end of last year with shout out Terrence Murphy. That was a dope episode. And then we definitely tried to put one out last week, but not our fault. Some people, man.
We try, I swear, but
can't control.
It's some things can't control. But nah, I'm doing real good, bro. And I told you this earlier, but I'm like on a very mean type of just education streak right now. I'm in like full grind mode. I feel like how you did, honestly, when after like working for a little bit, now you're pretty much in the mode of going to work every day and just getting just doing 9 to 5, doing your thing. But you like, man, it's getting monotonous almost. And I'm just trying to find something that's, I don't know, just trying to find that thing that you just start really pushing towards. Just something that like some type of venture just to, I don't know, spice up your life, if anything, but really just to change the dynamic of where you're headed to. Because I just see like it's just a very slow pace. It doesn't excite me, I guess, in a way.
What are you talking about?
Talking about like when I do like a meetup in the morning, and I'm super excited. It's an entrepreneurship meetup. I highly recommend if anybody want to check it out. The morning meetup is themorningmeetup.com. That's where I do every morning, and it's like an entrepreneurship meetup where everybody in there's an entrepreneur, and we're just learning about like what it means to be an entrepreneur. And like you pretty much get to answer any questions that you may have, and everybody in there is just like very motivated, and it's very uplifting in the morning. And then I go up at 8 a.m. to my actual job, where I'm like listening in to like the conversation that they have, and it's just like a 180 degree difference. Like it's super energetic at 7 a.m. when I'm in the meetup, and then at 8 a.m. everybody's like, "Yeah, man, it's Monday again." I'm like, dude. It's just a very different mindset and mentality that people have in my job versus on that meetup, and I'm just like, it's just different. Like that's kind of where it was like motivated me initially, and I also highly recommend people check out Undercover Billionaire on Discovery Channel. That's like, so I don't know if y'all know about Grant Cardone, but he's like one of the major real estate guys in the world, really. And they have a challenge where they gave they gave 3 millionaires $100, a car, and a phone with no contacts. And their goal is to reach $1 million of net worth in 90 days.
No, $1 million in revenue.
Yeah. Okay. Nah. Yeah, to build a business build $1 million business in 90 days. Yeah. And bro, that's really been inspiring, because now it's what it's trying to show you is that anybody, like the American dream is real in America. Anybody has a chance to obtain wealth it really comes down to your knowledge. Not necessarily your contacts or your money, but your knowledge of how to apply everything that you know into a business and make it profitable. Finding opportunities where other people may not see them. So it's been very inspiring, and I'm just like, I don't know, it's like a little revelation in my mind going on right now. So I'm in the midst of it. But I'm off my soapbox. How are you today?
I'm doing, man. I'm doing good, man. Happy to be in 2021. This is a very exciting year for me. I'm very optimistic about what's going to happen this year, man. And I've just been putting in a lot of work so far this year. I mean, as we're recording this, it's January 15th. It's been two weeks into the year. And, man, I just had to take it up another notch from last year. Last year was, definitely, I think, my best year personally. And I know it was not at all close to, my ceiling or what I could do or what I can accomplish. I was literally laying the foundation of everything that's to come for the next 300 years. So it's exciting, man. So I'm excited to continue doing that. Just been hustling a lot, man. I got back out there, after I finish all my work, I go and do. I'm back doing door to door sales. So door knocking, man. That's just been a whole another thing because I know we talk about last time I did that was back in high school and we was selling football cards and I was always the top seller. I had to throw that out there. But it's kind of just reminiscing on that and trying to like hone back in on that. I'm a little rusty, but you get back used to getting those no's and getting rejected. That's why I love it. I love it because you go in with the mentality knowing, oh, they're already gonna say no. But the people that do say yeah, you be like,
They
yeah,
don't. Those are shockers right there. Those people
yeah,
that say yes, not the no's.
yeah, and it'd be that's the ones that motivate you. Like I could get 10 straight no's. And you go to your 11th and someone will say, yeah, come do a bid, whatever the case may be. And, that motivates me, gets me like, oh, okay, whew. I thought I was, you'd be thinking like, damn, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Maybe I'm wasting my time. But it's just a numbers game, man. So my goal is to do 200 a month. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm trying it out for this month, and then I'll reevaluate at the end of this month. But other than that, man, I got the truck back finally on the road. That was a whole thing of last year that was tough, but you just got to persevere through it. So that's good, and it's been making money. I think did a little. We could have did better last week. We did about 5,000. Should have been about 7, but some things happened. This week has been better. Next week will definitely be better. Hopefully, do 7 to 8,000. So, been doing that, man. Just a lot of hustling, a lot of working. Um, I really wish, that one thing I've been trying to do is just be really consistent with everything. Yeah. And not being able to put the podcast out every week is kind of, annoying me. But at some point, it's like something that I just can't control. So I'm putting the YouTube videos out right now, still doing that. So go check those out too if you are looking for a different flavor of content. I'm doing 2 a week. I got to order a new mic because apparently my mic isn't working, so that's why I couldn't put one out. Actually, it's funny. I was so pissed. I recorded a whole video and I went and plugged it in, put my memory card in, and edited it.
And had
Bro,
no
there was
sound.
no audio. So heated, bro. It was like, and a 10-minute video takes probably 30 minutes of actual film.
Mm-hmm.
So because of all the whatever, if I mess up or the breaks in between or whatever the case may be. So I just wasted all that time and it's like, bruh. So it's annoying. I don't even know what happened to my mic, so I got to get that fixed. Well, I'm gonna just buy a new one, unfortunately. But other than that, man, I actually did watch that show. I actually have been watching. Yeah, it's funny because we had never even talked about it. Right. I never told you that I was watching it, but I started watching it this week. I think just because I saw Grant Cardone. He had been talking about it since last year.
Yeah.
I had to check that. I got that free trial to go ahead and check it out on Discovery. But that's a dope show, man. Shout out to Elaine and Monique as well too. They are dope. And like you said, man, it's just a way you could really see like, these you can make things happen. And I was actually going to tweet about it. We might as well talk about it now real quick. One thing I noticed about that show is the fact, okay, because Marlon explained the premise. They had the goal, you get nothing. They give you nothing except your phone, $100 in a truck. And you got to go to a random city. You don't even know where you're going, and you got to build $1 million business. You don't even have housing. You have to figure out where you're going to stay.
Right,
so the first thing they're doing when they get there is trying to figure that out. And it's so interesting how they each approach it. And that's why I've been analyzing and trying to dissect, because I'm watching it just for like it's very entertaining.
I'm watching to learn, bro. Like I'm in full learn mode. I have notes out when I'm watching it. It's an entrepreneurship blueprint, bro.
To me, it's extremely entertaining. Like I love it for the entertainment aspect, but it's also very enlightening in terms of like how each of these people are approaching each their respective cities and acquaintances. Because it's funny because the one thing that was common among all of them, and remember, these are billionaires, so these are people that have maybe they're not billionaires, but I know
Multi-millionaires.
yeah, I think Monica or Monique was like 50 million in the bank or net worth or something. But anyways, the point is they're really wealthy, and the first thing they do when they get to these cities is network and build relationships. That's
Yes.
the first thing that they're doing because they all know that they can't do anything unless they have people around them that can help them, get something. Because think about it, if you go to a brand new city, $100 in the bank, $100 in cash, and all you got is a car. What is the first thing you're gonna do? A lot of people, most people, the first thing they're going to do, and I guess it depends what your goal is. But if your goal is to build $1 million business, the first thing that you gotta do is figure out who the big players are in the city, and you got to get connected in some way. So it's interesting to see how Grant Cardone does that, and it's not to say they're doing this easy. This is they're struggling. Like they're having a hard time to actually, make these connections, at least in the first couple weeks. It's only episode 2, so we'll see what happens next week. But it's interesting to see how they approach things versus how other people do. Because Grant Cardone said something very profound, and he's had said this before. He said, "Don't chase money, chase opportunities."
Yep.
Like he got there and he was doing the thing for free for the mattress and working for him for free, and it's like that's what you got to do. You got to go add value to people. So it's principles we preach all the time, but you can see it in action in real life.
From a real life millionaire, like multi-millionaire that's been doing this for years. So you see it. Like that's what I'm saying. Like I take so many notes on it because you saw that he's not just trying to say, okay, I'm gonna start a t-shirt business. He's not saying that when he gets out there. He's saying where is the need, and he's going around. He's talking to anybody like who are the key players and what is the need. Those are his 2 questions. He's talking to people like, hey, what's needed around this city. And then he finds a guy, he sees that he needs some type of service, like he needs help in a particular business. And he's like, okay, I can help there. And I'm not going to ask you for no money. I'm going to do it for free. I want to add value to you before I ask for anything in return.
Yeah.
I love it too much, bro.
And that's the formula. And then Monique did the same thing. It's kind of crazy how her story kind of is unwinding, but it's, shout out to her because she's met the mayor. She met, a bunch of people in the city that are invested.
The Senate seat, the mayor, like all that.
Yeah, like she's met a bunch of high profile people that will help her build her business. And, the other lady's doing well as well. So it's a dope show. Y'all should definitely check that out. I don't want to spoil it all, but most people, I mean, who really has a Discovery Channel? I don't have cable, so I had to.
Yeah, I'm about to say the normal people who have cable.
Yeah. So you can just get the app, but y'all can get that free trial for the first week, and then it's like $7 for the month. So I'll definitely be canceling after the show's over. But for now,
we had a guest today, didn't we?
Yeah, we got to interview Mike Ealy. We were actually supposed to interview him.
December 5th would have been a day. I mean, but I've been talking with his assistant since like probably the end of October. So this one took a minute to come to fruition, but we got it.
Yeah, man. So as y'all know, we definitely are trying to move into the apartment complexes this year. As far at least acquire one or some commercial real estate, multifamily specifically. So, that was whenever I started diving deep into this stuff and finding out who the key players in this industry are across the country. He was one of the guys that I came across on. I don't remember where I saw him. It was like in August of last year, so it was a while ago. But I saw he had a couple podcast interviews. He had 1,200 rental units, and he had some hotels too. So that was definitely a unique perspective. So I said, dang, yeah, I want to get him on a podcast at some point. So it's always funny kind of how it always manifests. You see him one time, like, yeah, I'd like to get him on a podcast, and more times than not, they do end up getting on the podcast. So it just goes to show. The goal is definitely, hopefully one day we'll get Robert Smith on here. But we're ways away from there. EYL just got Mark Cuban, so
oh yeah, for sure. We got on that.
Yeah, we got to level up before we could get Robert Smith, black billionaire. So, but yeah, man, it was a great episode. He had a dope story. Like I said, he's at 1,200 units apartment investing. He got into real estate, when he was like 30 years old, and now he's a multi-millionaire in pays nothing in taxes. So,
Yeah.
what that sounds like a dream life. What could be better in terms of finances? I mean, what did you think of it?
I liked his story just because he's been a go-getter from the beginning, and it's all started with him educating himself. Like this dude talking about he in the library at school reading books about stocks and
Junk bond.
bonds, yeah, junk bonds, and then also reading about like real estate. He was just in there trying to find ways to make money. Like
14.
at 14, 15 years old. So it's like this dude at that age, most I know for me, I'm playing Call of Duty at that age. So even though we started early, he started earlier than that. And it manifests into like what he was doing in his 20s. Like he was building $300,000 businesses in his mid 20s. And then you'll just hear a little bit. I mean, I'm not going to try to spoil it all, but you'll just hear how his story progressed into how he was able to start scaling to where he was able to get to in the end, because he just has that mindset of always acquiring knowledge and networking with people. And so that's essentially that's the formula, and you see it happening different ways, but everywhere. Like we talked about earlier with Undercover Billionaire, like with this guy with Mike with the interview, you always see it happening. So obviously there's some truth to it. So just take heed to the information being given.
We trying to bring y'all a ton of value with every episode and bringing big hitters on here. So this is honestly crazy. The more I think of more and more kind of what we put together and what we're doing. I mean, we're talking to people that are by many stretches of by considered by many, the 1%, the elite. So this is listen to these people, man. Listen to what these people are saying. If you ain't gonna listen to me, listen to these people. Anyways, yeah. Without further ado, let's get into this episode. What up, Mike? How you doing today?
It's all good, brothers. How y'all doing, man? Nice to sit with you guys. Texas bound fellas, man. What's happening with you, brothers?
I'm doing well, man. Doing well. Super happy to have you on here, man. You have a dope story and super excited to get into it and kind of how you've amassed everything you've amassed. And yeah, it's a lot to get into. So we're definitely excited about this.
Yeah, no doubt, brothers. No doubt.
Yeah. So typically, how we start every one of these episodes, we really want to get into the background of our guests and, kind of hear how they grew up in regards to money and finances, financial literacy, those kind of things, what they were doing by the time they were like 18, and then kind of how that transitioned into kind of where they are today. Because what happens is a lot of our listeners will be able to really resonate with different guests. So we won't really want, that's always the goal. We want people to resonate with our guests. So if you don't mind getting into that, that would be great.
Yeah, so I grew up around a whole bunch of broke mothers. No, I'm just No, man. Nothing fancy about me, man. I mean, middle class. My dad worked for this brewing company. My mom was a teacher. And I just liked school, man. I loved football. I was the wild child, man. I got to see my brother and sister grow up, right? And so, I was the third, man. Anybody know that's a third kid, man? You get to see everybody else go all through it, and then you get to watch all their mistakes, right? And then you can make your move. You know how to move a little better, man. And so, they kicked a lot of doors in for me. But man, ended up going to Tuskegee, but throughout high school, man, I was reading, man. I learned so much. I knew there was so much money out there, and literally I went to the library, man. And I know some of you guys don't like a library. What is that? You know what I'm saying? Back when they had catalog cards, right? You had a catalog card. You literally had to pull. Yeah. What? I don't even know where the library is. I can go on the internet. We ain't have all that, man. Literally, man, and I wanted to learn about making money in the stock market at the time. They said was junk bonds, and so I saw this book about junk bonds, and it was like minimum investment $50,000. So I literally put that back on the shelf. And then I saw Robert Allen, No Money Down in the '90s, man, and that was the beginning. It was like an idiot-proof book, and I read it, and it just showed us all these different techniques on how you can buy real estate with minimum or no money down. And literally, I used them techniques to buy my real estate. But I didn't jump into it. I was about when I was 14, 15, 16-year-old. And so right before I got to college, man, well, even before then, man, I was doing a lot of parties, man. I used to get a cry. Hey, get me going. I had the parties, the music. Hey, give me my horns too. I got me a new toy. Yo. Like literally, my mom would go out of town, and I was I was doing parties at my crib, man. Literally, it was going down like that. And so everybody would ask me to come, do they parties for them, right? They mom, and I didn't even know what I was doing. I'll never forget. I was doing an intern in Cincinnati Bell. And the lady was like, Mike, what do you do? What do you like doing? I was like, well, I throw these parties, people call me. She was like, you're a promoter. I was like, oh yeah, that's what I do. I ended up doing big concerts with Outkast before, Andre became Andre 3000, you know what I'm saying? And what Too Short, all them players. But anyway, I graduated from Tuskegee University, but I knew I wanted to do real estate, and I jumped in and I bought some car washes. I used no money down techniques from these infomercials as well, and ended up making about 300,000 a year. Man, had the cornrows, rocking the wife beater and Timberlands. Man, I was about 28. Man, I was getting it, man, and then I lost it all. I went broke. Didn't have any plans, didn't have a budget. Like your mom and dad say, save for that rainy day. Well, in real estate and business, you got to put escrow for your taxes, insurance, and capital expenses. And I didn't do any of that stuff, and so I ended up losing it all. Basically, paying Paul to rob Peter to pay Paul. One of those deals, and so. Ended up moving back home with my mom and dad, man. And, I was 30 years old. And, as I always say, that was sexy, baby. I'm 30, man. I'm still hitting the club, man. And, I'm like, hey, what's up? You know what I'm saying? And you can come hook up with me. And we go to my mom and dad house,
How did that work?
It didn't, bro. It didn't. And so yeah, man, not only that, I painted my room pink and lavender. Nobody was expecting me to come back, neither did I. But I ended up staying with them, but I've got my hands on every book I could read, man. I've read everything from landscaping to business owners to billionaires and how they empowered to Caesar to Jesus to what's his name? The Nazi guy. What's the Nazi guy name? Hitler. Like how they all came into power. Farrakhan. And it was the same thing over and over, from witchcraft to the Muslims. Same major principles. Treat others how you wanted to be treated, and just believe. Believe with certainty. You do those things, man. Everything will come into order, man. That was it. And so. I began to apply myself, and this time I ended up working with some guys I went to school with, right? Because I was broke. I was starting a realtor. I was, because I was like, man, I could be a realtor, get myself back into the game. And so I was a terrible realtor, man. Actually, my first year, I had about 30 deals on the table, only closed like 11 of them, and they were terrible commissions. I only made like 1,800 to 1,200 commission. I only made 1,200. Now I understand poverty level was like 14,000. So that just to give you an idea, right? I think it was below that, yeah. So, but I kept working at it, and by the second year, third year, I was at 50,000, 100,000, 150, and then by the fourth year, I was flipping deals in between that, and I got back on my feet, man, and I started buying deals, got investors, and that was it. I'll never forget my man, Old Man Gary, was one of my first investors. He gave me 200 grand at 10% interest only with 2 points. And I started rocking it out. That was one of my biggest ones. But it wasn't for my college buddies, man. They kind of helped me back on my feet, whether they know it or not. And I was like, look, man, y'all need to start doing real estate. And one thing people want to get started, and how can I start? Add value. Just don't go back trying to take and ask, right? Although I did ask, but I was like, I more positioned myself, right? Because like I'm broke, I'm living home with my mama. I'm like, what are you doing? But I knew real estate, so I was like, look, man, hey, I can make you guys a lot of money, man. Look, do this deal. I'll manage it. I'll rehab it. I'll flip it. And I'm gonna take fees. I'm gonna do it fee based. You keep the lion's share. And so they was like, bet. So I found a deal, took a commission. Rehabbed it, took a commission, took a fee. I leased it, took a fee. I sold it, took a fee. They ended up making 20, 25,000. I made up about 10,000 in fees. And I did that 2 or 3 times, and I was like, you know what? I figured this out. I'm not going back again. And that was it, man. And I just kept going. And I went from single families to four families to multi-units to larger hotels, like when the market crashed, when like the Great Recession, which was
Oh, wait.
2008, 2000, went into 2011. And man, it was like manna from heaven, brother. Like apartment buildings, they were just giving them away, man. And if I would have known better, I would have raised. Well, I didn't know enough because I was still learning. But I mean, we was buying apartments like 4,000 a door,
Oh my
8,000 a door,
gosh.
12,000 a
Good
door,
Lord.
15,000 a door. And now, but what's crazy, man, I was like, man, these things only worth 25, maybe 30.
You gotta have vision though, because at that time they're not worth a lot either. Yeah.
Oh man, it was a struggle. But I was like, man, but that's what we did. I stayed in the hood. I stayed where I was comfortable. Like you ain't, go where you know what I'm saying? Like I had a lot of other friends, European buddies, and they all were doing in like the class A, class B, and they was getting money, man. Like they were doing way better than me, man. I ain't gonna lie. I learned a lot from them. But they do a deal, they make 50 to 100. I do a deal, I'm making 15 to 20. And it's all because of their neighborhood. But
Right.
I didn't know that neighborhood. But I stuck to what I knew, and yeah, they outpaced me from the beginning. But remember, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Now I'm ahead of the game, and now like I got some family offices, and with $1 billion, and now they're starting to write checks for me. So just put your work in, work at it every day, stay committed. Look, man, and that was it. And quite frankly, what put me in the direction just watching other people, knowing that it was possible, man. I'm gonna keep talking because y'all ain't gonna even get a chance to ask a question, so I'm gonna shut up. I just see I'm just rolling with it.
So real quick, you say so now you have about 1,200 units, correct?
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
And so one thing I noticed about everything you were saying is there were two things I really noticed is that number one, you were always, and you probably still are, very inquisitive. You're always trying to learn new things and always trying to seek out new information.
That's right.
Even at the age of 14 years old, I mean, you picking up books on junk bonds and real estate and things that a 14-year-old has, from a lot of people's estimation, no business reading.
Mm-hmm.
So you just get like surrounding yourself in that. And then you say, even, I mean, when you get 30 years old, you're reading things that don't even really pertain to you. And that's something that's low-key a gem. I think a lot of people should do more is even just find and read things that don't even pertain to you, because that's
right.
going to allow you to expand your context so far. And you would just, it's going to enlighten you in so many different ways. That's a kind of a side note, but
Yeah.
that's something that I know that's just a trait of inquisition that you probably have. And another thing you're always doing is just continuing to take action, like always. Like
Man,
even
action is the key, brother.
yes, even I mean, you at a young age, you whatever you could do, you were trying to do. I mean, you talking about whether it was reading, whether it was even being a party promoter, still trying to make money. And then when you get into real estate, you taking action. You fail with the car washes, you fail with the other stuff, but you're still taking action, and you continue to. You didn't let the failure stop you. You even talked about when you were an agent, you barely living below poverty, but you continue at it, and then within 3 years, you making $150,000 a year, whatever the case may be, and that's something that I want people to understand is no matter what the action is always going to be the most important step. Like I would honestly even say to an extent, it's more important than the education to an extent,
Yeah.
because
No, I agree.
yeah, like we always hear people say knowledge is power. No, applied knowledge is power.
Sure.
You have to apply it first in order to actually, get something out of it. So I just commend you on that, man. It's definitely a testament to how you've gotten to where you are today. And, shout out to you for that.
Yeah, no, wisdom, understanding, and application, man. That's the key. You got to get the wisdom, then understand it, then comprehend it, then apply it. Uh, there was I'm gonna keep going. Think, man. I wanted to tell you about that, but I'm gonna come back to that one, man. What was it? It's gone. All right, the old man kicking in. That's
No, that's
that
all.
old man kicking in.
No, it's crazy to me because you say you was like really good in school, but you always had this entrepreneurship spirit in you, I guess, because like Alex said, you was just reading in the library 24/7 about stuff, just looking to make money. Like that was just your go-to thing. And I'm for a lot of people, I don't know if they even like people want money, but they are not driven to go find ways to do it like that. So how did that like? Is that just something that you was just ingrained in you from early on? Like, did anybody teach you that? Is that just like your inherent nature? Like, how did you get? How did that come about for you?
Uh, I don't know, man. I was just kind of inquisitive, man. I
Mhm.
just like to learn, man. But I'm gonna tell you, I was not a big reader. Matter of fact, when I would go to the library, I would like, oh man, that's too complicated. I'll throw it back. I just found a book that was good for me. Um, but always, man, I just had growing up, I just wanted to make money. I knew there was a better way. And, not saying that my mom and dad didn't, get me stuff. Like I had stuff, I can't say I had, the top line toys or anything, but, Christmas was never bare. There was always food on the table. I ain't got no sob story, right? Yes, there was some struggles, but my mom was a teacher, and the one thing I think her friends used to just plant seeds in me all day, like literally. The routine was I would go to my mom's school, sit with her for a minute, and then like I can't remember because I went to kindergarten. Well, two things. Either she took me to the nursery school or I went to kindergarten. So then I would walk down the hall, down into the basement and go to kindergarten. And while I was there, those teachers were still our friends today. People were like, oh, Mike, you're so smart. Oh, Mike, you're going to be a president. Oh, Mike, that's a really nice outfit. Did you pick that out? And I'm just, geeked like, yeah, I picked it up. I can be a president, and, I was dumb enough to believe him.
Yeah.
I mean, but, I'm joking about that, but, I've met so many people that didn't have that kind of foundation. A simple, I thought everybody told their kids you're brilliant.
Yeah.
Now, having kids now, I can see why they don't tell their kids they're brilliant. But no, I love my babies, man. I love them, even the special. No, I'm just kidding. No, but seriously, man. Yeah, we just pour into them, man, and a lot of people don't get that. And so, and then I was fortunate enough to see other people making money. They was from a distance, but I got to saw it. And like my dad, he actually worked for Johnny Bench. So we'd go to his house and we see this big house. And back in the day, I didn't even realize, but it was a Rolls Royce or a Bentley and curtains in the car and all this. Like, what? What's this? How you get this? Like, I didn't know what it was and didn't really care about it, but I knew it was money. And in matter of fact, now this was different, but they weren't flashing in like Ken Griffey. So the Griffeys, we all grew up together. Ken Griffey, Senior, Junior, and Craig. Craig, me and Craig played football together in Pee Wee. And I got to watch all of them grow up. And we used to go hang at their house. Like we knew them. We saw them play base. It was just one of those things, man. It wasn't no, oh, he's Ken Griffey. Like, man, that's just Craig daddy. And but they had nice stuff. And you'd be like, okay. You take an inventory and you're like, okay, I feel you.
Yeah.
And but I think that kind of pushed me as well. And I just saw people making it, and I couldn't get the answer. So I tried to, my teacher's like, hey, you want to learn something? Pick up a book. That was it, man.
And that's really because I know a lot of people will hear that and say something similar. And just commenting on the first thing you said was you say you were never a reader. Today, you don't have to say, "Oh, I'm a reader" or not to
Yeah,
be
right, right.
inquisitive.
That's
There's so
right.
many
That's right.
avenues to be educated and to be informed today on all the different topics. I mean, obviously, this podcast you're listening to right now, you don't have to sit here and read anything, YouTube videos, whatever the case may be. There's so many different ways to learn today. It's not just a conventional go pick up a book. So
That's right.
it's just, I mean, if you say any reason that you say, you don't want to go learn, it's because you're just making excuses today. So yeah, but I kind of wanted to ask kind of how did you get, because you mentioned that you had, and I want to kind of shift more into a little bit of real estate stuff, because I know you had mentioned that you who did you say the dude that loaned you that money owed, Yeah,
Old man Gary.
old man Gary.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said you said he lent you $200,000, and so I know a lot of people hear that and be like, dang. And that was like you were early in your real estate investing career.
Yeah.
So how did you actually start getting into real estate with no
Well,
money
compared to
down?
y'all, I don't know if that was early. I was 30,
Hey,
32, 34.
no, it's. I mean, we're gonna come back to it, but just one
Yeah,
thing I
yeah.
wanted to comment on earlier is just the fact that you started early with just business ventures in
Oh, yeah, yeah.
general,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
of the fact that you had a $300,000 business with the car
Yeah.
washes and everything else, like your mid to late 20s, and you literally fall flat on your face by 30, and you're able to start over. But you spent all these early years just setting a foundation of knowing how, just like building things up. So now you also building your knowledge, building your connections, even like anything along the way, you're just pretty much taking advantage of your youth, and a lot of people miss out on that because they're
Oh man,
busy
that's
doing
and
whatever.
that's why and it's funny, man. When you got, I'm gonna drop something on fatherhood. I'm gonna move to fatherhood on you real quick, man. One, you're gonna have kids, but you already peeked it out, right? Because you're younger and you're already after it. But like my kids, man, I'm like, man, I got this game now. Like I get it, and you want to give it to your kids, and you because you was always thirsty, you was always hungry, man, and you wanted to provide a better life for them, but they ain't you, right? They ain't what they do. You know what I'm saying? Some people comfortable doing certain things, man, and uh, my son, he's a smart kid. But he ain't really got to that point where he really want to take stuff on, but because he got that video game. But we getting rid of that, man. Like I was like, bro, we done with that.
You
But
know, PS5s over here.
nah, man. Like as much as I really want him to have that, like I want him to enjoy it, but I don't want him having that. Like man, now like this year he'll be coming to work with us. Like literally, he'll go work with my maintenance guy. Then next week he'll go work at the hotel. Then next week he'll do something else. So, you know, you got to, so in summary, that maybe a little bit, you got to take people for who they are and leave it at that. You're not going to change them.
Yeah.
They'll change over a period of time, but you're not going to do it. That's on them. And then to jump back, I'm going to jump one more. We were talking about action steps. I'll never forget, man. I used to pray and meditate all the time, man, and visualizing, obtaining these goals, right? I write all my goals down, meditate, pray on it every night. Literally, put the olive oil on it, man. Like, you blessed, right? Put the oil on it, and I'm praying 3 times a day, man, going at it, and then like get back to work, and I'll never forget, man. I had kind of a coach as a realtor because as I wasn't doing well selling, and he was like, "You need to take this class," and I took the class, and I never forget. Long story short, but I wrote all my goals down, and I was like, "That's it." And I'm expecting myself, God, or something, God to bring it to me or something. And they was like, "Now you got to put action steps with it. What are your action steps to make it happen?" And I was like, "What? What do you mean?" I was like, oh, I know that sounds corny, but I didn't realize like, even though you praying and meditate on it, you gotta put steps, like literally write it out. You gotta wake up at 8 in the morning or 7 in the morning, 6 in the morning, and you gotta read these certain chapters by this time. And then after you read them certain chapters, you gotta actually apply it. And then after you apply it, this, and happen, then reach out. Like you literally write it all the way out to make it happen. And that's the difference. So I'm sorry, that's what I forgot earlier, but those are the real action steps. And that's why I've been able to be successful, man. Like just little things, and stepping out of my comfort zone reading. Because when I say I'm not a reader, you guys are engineers, I'm a math guy. You send some numbers to us. You're like, oh, that makes sense, right? Oh, no, what do you mean? No, data. I don't care about data. I need raw numbers. Don't give me, because when y'all get into feasibility studies, y'all gonna get a headache. I'm telling you, an engineer, you're gonna get a headache because they just, they say if you can provide the data, you're probably right. I'm like, no, man, I can provide the data, and that math don't add up. You're gonna blow up something,
Yeah.
or that weight is gonna compact it. So yeah, man. So Sorry,
Yeah.
man. I took over. I'm all over the place, man.
No, you good. And I'm glad you kind of went back to that because it reminded me of, something that we talk about a lot too is I think in the book of James, they say, I mean, faith without works is dead.
That's
So,
right. That's right.
it's real. You got to have that action behind it and have that process in place in order to kind of get to that next level. But yeah. So I guess kind of moving forward as far as, the real estate stuff, because why did you because I mean, you mentioned you talked about junk bonds and all those other things that you thought about. Why did you
Hmm.
end up choosing real estate? I know there was the no money down. You got the old man Gary's 200 racks. All these things that kind of played a factor. Why real estate over anything?
Nah, man. What I also I read, man, was like all the wealthy people own real estate. They owned a business,
Yeah.
or they were in the insurance. Those were kind of the big things. So you either had a business, real estate, and insurance. And I was like, well, I already read that real estate, and I was like, that seemed easy. Like I could do that. And I was like, let me go. Now there could have been some other subsets back there that made me more interested, but really, I just remember picking that book up like that's attainable. And so, really, my goal was to do concerts and parties, and all the money I made from the concerts, I was going to buy real estate
Mm.
because that was going to be an asset that's there that would never go away. And but the thing was, I do a concert or a party, I make money, then next time I ain't make no money.
So then, okay, so you saw it as, obviously this is what everyone's doing. So you're just following that footprint. And I know for a lot of people, just in regards to why I'm a big advocate of real estate because like I said we're heavy on real estate. To me it's all about those wealth generators in real estate too in regards to you can get the financial freedom aspect from the cash flow. You get obviously the appreciation, which is just icing on the cake if you do buy it right.
Absolutely, absolutely.
um and then you get my favorite part is the equity build up when the tenants pay down your loans.
Oh, for sure.
um, so that's literally someone else increasing your net worth every single month. And
That's
then,
right.
I mean, a close second, I guess, would probably be the tax benefits, man, the depreciation. Because,
Ooh.
yeah. And then, obviously the leverage too. I mean, especially, and we're going to talk about the commercial real estate, but there's very few businesses in the world that banks will lend you 80% on. Because when you're
That's
buying
right.
real
That's
estate,
right.
you're buying a business, and these banks are giving you. I mean, you're buying single family, they're giving you 96.5% to buy a house if you put
That's
three
right.
three and a half
That's
percent
right.
down. So it's just outweighs anything. I like it's just insurmountable to me to choose anything over real estate. So I mean that's kind of what
No, I mean, and one thing I didn't think I would be so excited about, but as I really started studying, I took the CCIM course, which is like Commercial Certified Investment Member, where you analyze all types of deals, right? That's when I started learning about internal rate of return, cash on cash,
yeah.
speaking in square footage, all these different terminologies, and when they started talking about accounting and depreciation and segregation, and I was like, oh my goodness. And so, like, that's why you don't pay a lot of taxes. Like, regardless of how you feel about Trump, but everybody's like, he ain't showing his taxes. He ain't show his taxes because he ain't paying no taxes
Exactly.
And the
because he
Hey,
had
Jews
so
too.
much depreciation.
I remember on the podcast and I ain't gonna put this out there if you don't want me to, but there was one you talked about. You had I swear you said you had a 700,000 K
No,
one.
I was about to say, no, dude. So when I bought my first hotel, man, I got a K1. So everybody don't know what a K1. That's your distribution
Yeah.
after your partnership. I got a K1 for a negative
Come on,
$793,000.
man.
Man, you talking about somebody was happy? I was like, what? I ain't never been so happy to see a negative.
Yeah.
Never.
Bro.
So
Amazing.
so it offset my gains, like because see, so people are like, what's so important about that? I don't get it. Well, people, let's say when you first start in real estate or just business, are you trying to pay as less taxes as you can? And so, let's say you made 100 grand. Well, people will try to find all different ways to write off stuff to make it look like they only made 10 or 15,000,
Yep.
right? To avoid paying them taxes. But what happens when you do that, you're not bankable, basically. The bank, you want to go to the bank and you want to buy this $300,000 property. It's like, how much you make? You're like, 15,000. Like, I'm not letting you. Well, I really made 100. Where? You know, show me. You're broke. Like hey, stick yourself. Stick yourself. Oh, y'all don't know nothing about that movie. Oh Lord.
Nah.
Oh, Jesus, they don't know nothing about that movie. You remember that? Stick yourself to Mac. You don't know either. God, you young. Godly.
You feeling singled out,
Hey,
right?
y'all got to watch the Mac if y'all ain't never seen that. Yeah. So, but anyway, with depreciation, you can show that you grossed that revenue, but you were able to take your tax deductions, and so it's not counted against you. So just imagine making 500,000, 700,000 a year, right? Then, but here's the thing: you already got other deals you're working on that you already had $300,000 or $400,000 in deductions. So now you only got to pay taxes on 200, but then you get this 700,000. I can use that 200 that wipe my federal taxes all the way out, and then that other 500 I haven't used, I'll get to roll over and for the next. So I got people that's worth $50 million. $50 million. They ain't paid no federal taxes, and I don't know when, because they constantly doing a deal. They constantly got depreciation and carryovers from these big numbers. That's why I love big deals, man.
Yeah.
That's why I love them.
So I want to hear from your perspective on this, Dan. So why do you think the tax code is written like that? That empowers business owners and entrepreneurs, investors versus the 9 to 5 work?
Man, hell if I know, brother. But hey, that's why you get into law, man. That's why you put people in the office, man. These real estate people did that, man. I mean, a lot of people that were in power, they lobbied their senators or whatever and lobbyists and implement these tax benefits.
Yeah.
I mean, because really though, man, when you look at it, the other thing is the guy that makes the money, right? He hires all these people.
There you go.
Yes.
Exactly.
So,
You're providing jobs.
Technically, he's getting hit twice in a way. Like, they're like, oh, he's making this money. He can afford these taxes. But I realize he just spent 70 to 100 grand paying payroll. So, I mean, technically he is paying taxes.
Yeah.
But they just, but even as an employee, you can utilize the same benefits. But what people don't know is you could actually, instead of doing a W-2, now some companies may not, or contracts, but you can actually, instead of hiring yourself, you can make yourself a 1099, and then they pay in your corporation. And so then now you can utilize part of your office or car expenses or all these different to help write off a lot of those gains. So instead of paying your standard 20, I don't know, 18 to 24% on taxes, right? And some of you big money guys, 31%. You can now write off a bulk of it. And so now instead of paying taxes on, 24% of $100,000, because you're able to utilize a lot of them write-offs, now they only using 74,000. They only basing that 24% on 74,000. So technically you could, the average worker it's available to them. They just got to set themselves up right. And I've done that, and actually you'll get more money, right? Because people, when they do their deal, they withhold taxes. The problem is if you hold taxes, you got to be disciplined enough to pay your taxes at the end.
Yeah, the 1099. And one thing I want to mention real quick too with the whole tax thing, because I love the tax conversation, but I want people to think of the taxes as incentive systems too, because whenever you're doing things that the government doesn't like, they can do themselves, but they would rather you do it, they will give you incentives. And I think a perfect example for a lot of people, because a lot of people are W-2 workers, whenever you put money into your 401k, you're able to deduct that amount off your taxes the next year on your tax return. So you won't, or a traditional IRA, you can deduct it off of the following year, because the government is incentivizing you. Hey, put money in your 401k so I don't have to take care of you when you're 65.
That's right. That's right.
So
That's right.
and that's why they penalize you if you do try to tap into it. So when it comes to the business stuff, like you said, like these business owners, these real estate investors, they're providing housing, they're providing jobs for people. So now the government doesn't have to provide jobs for these, or housing and jobs for these people themselves. And so, they want to incentivize these business owners and real estate investors to keep their businesses in America and not take them to another
Yep.
country.
Hey, Marlon, you
Yes.
think Alex turning into a Republican?
All right, I'm gonna say no comment on that, man. For sure, ain't gonna say no comment.
Hey man, I
we
told you I
all
love this tax
lightweight.
conversation.
If you making this money, you still a lightweight conservative, man. I don't care how you. I ain't say you down for all that other stuff. I ain't
Hey
saying you
man,
gonna storm Capitol Hill, or whatever. But
I'm gonna have
yeah.
to set up a Patreon so we could talk. We could talk offline for the people that want to have that conversation. I don't want to get blasted right now.
No. Hey, we get it. No, man. You know it's funny since we talk about politics, whether you like Trump or not. People just. I had some European friends. It was like, so you voted for Trump, didn't you? I said no. I said no, man. I mean, I like money because they just assumed because I was making money. I wanted to, I was like, hey, man, the laws take care of me, bro. The president don't, so I'm good. Now, uh, I most black folks know, but like, I was like, man, I can't vote for Trump. I was like, I never carried a gun, never had it, never liked it in my house. When Trump got in office, I bought a gun. Like, I already knew where that was going. It was just funny, like now other people just now when he's 2 weeks coming out of office, they're like, oh yeah, that's a bad thing. Like, what the fuck, excuse me, what the hell he been doing the whole time, man? Like, don't get me wrong. Hey, don't get me wrong. I love his tax incentives. I just don't like his race. If he would stay out of the racial, I'll deal with the rest of the shit.
Yep.
Hey,
Heard that before too.
I ain't gonna lie. You stay out of that race. Shut up. Do your tax thing. Leave folk alone. But that ain't him.
Yeah, but yeah, just moving the conversation then just for a little bit more. So one thing you mentioned, I mean, Alex actually mentioned earlier about the hotel where you had the tax write-offs in the first place that led us to the conversation. But hotels in general, that's something else that you've invested in on top of just like the apartment complexes, the small multifamilies and the single families. And that's something that we really haven't had as a dynamic that one of our guests have presented to us. So can you get a little bit more into that of like why hotel investing? Because when I think of hotels, and a lot of other of our listeners, we probably think of like Monopoly, where you buy the houses and then you trade out for a hotel. That's like a Monopoly game. That's not really like what you see people doing in real life. So explain how you got into that and like the benefits of that versus like another stream like apartment buildings.
Man, so really, man, the reason I wanted to get in hotels where I wanted to upgrade my class of assets. And so I never forget, I looked up one day, I'm older, and I got kids now, and they were only about 3, 4. One was 1, 4, 5, and I was like, and I had a lot of D, C. I don't even know if I could say just a lot of D plus, C minus properties.
Mhm.
I was like, man, I can't leave this shit to my kids, man. They can't manage that. Like, that's a special person to manage that. Like, I was like, man, I got to get out of these assets, and I'll never forget. I started meeting some people that own hotels. And really, it was just the look they had. Like, it was like in slow motion. I would see them and they just, everywhere they go, every hotel person I saw them, they was just like this. Just walking down the street. Yeah, just look like a commercial, getting out of cars. Just happy. I was like, I want that kind of happy. Like, what is it that they doing? I want to be like that. And I started meeting people, man. They were just like, man, I don't know why I didn't do this a long time ago. And because the hotels, man, you got tons of cash flow, and you got all these depreciation benefits, like I just shared with you. And so, and on top of it, you can buy. Well, probably not at the time, but now, because I was an apartment guy. Like, why would you want to do a hotel? But with the hotels, man, like, you're buying a Class A asset at an 8 cap, right? If you're in the Midwest versus if you want to buy a Class A asset, you're paying a 6 cap or a 5 cap, right? So in other words, $1 million cash flow, $1 million net NOI, if you paid a 6 cap or a 5 cap, that means you paid like 16.6 million. But you bought that same cash flow, but in a hotel asset, you paid 12.5 million. Like you already got a discount. Like, so you're enjoying the same benefits, but you're hiring sophisticated people that can run it, manage it. You got a branded system. Like you ain't, it ain't rocket science. And so, that was section that could be hands off. And then I was like, man, if I left my kids, Class A assets and hotels, man, anybody can manage that. And that's what pushed me toward it. And don't get me wrong, I saw the money too, man. I mean, it kicks off tons of cash. Tons of cash. Now, I ain't doing it right now, but
I was going to get into that too, but go ahead.
So you're obviously not converting them into, because I know that's an option. Some people do that too. They convert them into actually apartment buildings so that they can buy them at a cap. But obviously the NOI is going to change. So what differs then in terms of buying a hotel versus an apartment complex, in terms of like the actual evaluation and the analysis and actually purchasing it? Like what is it different? Because obviously whenever we're analyzing apartment complex, we're looking at NOI, cap rate, and those,
Yeah, that's a good question. So there's a lot. There's a lot of moving parts in a hotel than apartments. Very similar. Still kind of just looking at 2x, 3, the multipliers, the internal rate of returns, cash on cash, but things start changing, man. So with hotels, you're looking at all the economic drivers in the area. Now, you are looking for that in apartments as well. Economic drivers like, hey, is there any jobs around here? Is the community build up? Is it going to grow? But it's not as important as it is for a hotel. Hotel, you're like, okay, where am I get my business from? And that business gonna come from them business travelers. And so they want to know they got a lot of business travelers, some type of entertainment that attracts a lot of leisure, so you can get that transit traffic. And so those are the kind of things you're looking for in that. And so if you don't have strong economic drivers, you want to stay away from that, because you just can't put a hotel in the suburb and ain't no businesses out there, right? It just won't work. You need traffic. You need a high traffic count. Like that's why you can't put like a hotel in a regular residential area. Like, who's going to come over there unless there's a beach or a mountain or something like that right there, right? So you're looking at that. The other thing, you got to put more money into the deal. Typically apartments, you probably could put 20% down, 25. Hotels, typically a 30, 40%. So you got a bigger chunk of cheese unless you structure your debt. The other thing you're talking about, RevPAR, and then another thing is your ADR. So the ADR in comparison to apartments is your monthly rent. So for a monthly rent, it's $800, but we break it down to a daily rent,
Right.
and that's what hotels are, your average daily rent. And so, because really with hotels, you got a 24-hour lease, whereas apartments, you got a year lease. Now, the great thing is, let's say it slows down, well, you can drop your rate and be at $70 for your lease, your 24-hour lease. But when the market's popping, or there's a concert, or there's a festival or a seminar or something, you can push your rates up to $200. So, so you're not locked into a rate. So those are some of the benefits right there. You're pushing that up. And like I said, you can hire not to say you can't do it for apartments. You can do the same thing. I just felt that there was an opportunity. And, once I started and I started learning it, and next thing you know, COVID. And some kids like, oh man, it's terrible. But man, it's a great opportunity to buy now. There's no way I can get in these hotels for $1 million or $1.5 million or less. Like, not possible. Like, my cheapest deal, I still had to spend like $2 million to get in, and that was cheap.
That's exactly like what you hear Warren Buffett say, like, be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful. Right. And that's so basically just how you were in 2008, where you saw them houses for 5,000, 6,000, you see the same thing with hotels right now. It's an opportunity that has a small window. So you're
That's
gonna get
right.
in there now. You may risk a few months of negative cash flow, but you know when the market goes back up and people are traveling again, you're gonna start seeing
I
your
mean,
money come
here's
in.
another perfect example. I wish I would have took more about it, but like it's like the Great Recession in Miami. These condos were selling. You know, these were condos that normally sell for 3, 5, 600,000. You could pick them up for 50, 60,000, eighty
Dang.
thousand. And I didn't do it because the condo fee was like 1,000 a month. You know, I was like, man, I can't bankroll that. Like, all right, I can afford to bankroll that, but I didn't know nobody back then like that. But I knew I could bankroll the monthly payment, you know, pay the investors until I got something going. But paying that extra $1,000, like I couldn't mentally get that. But you got to realize, like, so 1,000 more a month, that'd have been 12,000. So waiting 3 years for the market to come back, that'd have cost me what,
$36.
$36,000,
Yeah,
right? Man, I could have sold that thing for 400 grand.
easy.
You know what I'm saying? So, okay, deduct the okay, let's deduct 50,000 off that 400. I'm at 350. I'm only in it for 60 grand. Same thing with the hotels, man. We're just gonna ride out till the market comes, man. I
So
just, go ahead.
okay, because that's number one. This is actually really. It reminds me a lot of. Obviously, everyone's very rich dad, poor dad, and his real dad. His name was Richard Kimmy. Or the actual. I mean, his rich dad. His name was Richard Kimmy. That's the actual guy in real life, and he bought a bunch of hotels. And it's kind of similar to kind of a lot of the stuff you're saying in terms of, you know, how you traded up into that. But one thing in regards to like all these economic factors, obviously the times are changing, and you know we see things like Airbnb and you know a bunch of other alternatives to hotels. How does that? You're still obviously buying hotels, you know, even amidst this. Why is that? Why are you not, you know, afraid of Airbnb or deterred?
Why am I not afraid? Man, I ain't gonna say that's the right word.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I'm still a little afraid. You know, I mean, we still don't know what's going on in this market, but what I do know, the market's going to come back. And but my worst case scenario is like, well, if the market don't come back, we got a bigger issue. So I won't be here all by myself. So that's another reason I look at it like that. But why? I really believe that, you know, I've seen multiple times when recessions or corrections happen and the market always comes back. And so it's really a matter of, from what I've seen and what I've done, do you think the market's going to come back? And if you do,
Bye.
these are the type of deals for you. If you don't think the market ever come back, then, you know, probably we shouldn't be doing this deal. And, you know, you shouldn't be buying real estate. But we
Yeah, good
always
luck.
go through a cycle. This is going to be one of the biggest eras of transformation of wealth, the transfer of wealth, man. So
Oh yeah, we've been seeing that all around. Like people that we interview, the people that they follow, like definitely see the transfer. So now, when it comes to like financing these, you said 30 to 40% down is like what they're looking for. But I'm assuming that once you start getting to this level, you start building a network of people that will invest with you. So I'm assuming, do you like how do you finance these deals? How are you paying for these deals? And then on top of that, how long is their money tied up into these deals? Because these are going to be like more long-term investments. So what does that look like?
typically deals will last about 5 years. I raise private capital. Yeah, I'm just simply networking with people. And then me doing things like you're doing. Well, they see the podcast, people reach out to me. That's why I got on social media, man. Really, man, I was forced into this. Man, I know y'all can't tell, but I really didn't like talking to people like that, man. Like, not that I don't want to talk to people, but I don't like sharing. Like, I don't want to feel like it's boasting or something like that. Like,
Right.
I want to just keep my head down. But you know, my guy we had, man, he had like 5 million. So we never really had to do nothing. Whatever we want, you know, Big Papa wrote the check. I was like, man, my man. He just cut it. And then so when we started transferring to hotels, his whole family had money and he lived out in this neighborhood where they knew everybody that had checks. And so he was getting a buy-in and they were ready to start coming in, but then he died and we never really got to establish that relationship. And so then, you know, I just kind of had to start all over. And so I was like, man, how are we gonna get there? And I was like, man, I ain't gonna do all this. And how can I make, because I don't like working hard, man. I'm telling you, I'm a lazy but hard working guy, right? It's weird, but or I just want to do what I want to do, right? And so I was like, how can I do this? And so I did this by just reaching out to other people, sharing my platform, educating people. And by educating people, they give in return. I give, it's like tithing, man. I give and you'll get back, 100-fold. So me sharing my platform, like, man, matter of fact, like this young lady, she always wanted a hotel, and we just happened to meet through multiple people through my platform. And then she got in the hotel deal. Now she blew it up. She leveraged it off her small investment. Now she posted it everywhere, got publicists and blasted Black Enterprise and everything. Now, like, they call her the youngest Black female to own a hotel. She's only, 30, 31. I ain't hating. I'm gonna be quiet, that sort of thing. But just leveraging other people. But because of that, and because she got in the Black Enterprise, more and more people are reaching out her to invest in deals, which will come back to me. But while they were focused on the smaller folks, I kept my eye on the big prize, BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goal, man. Always think big, man, because if I wouldn't think big, if I had kept thinking about, man, I'm just going to pull me 3 or 4 hotels out of this storm, that's probably what I did. But because I was like, man, we grabbing 100, I've already grabbed my 5 already. See what I'm saying? So, just think big. Hey, man, I'm sorry, brothers, but I got it because, again, this is one of these big guys I can't miss. Let's go ahead and say what you say, man, and I'm out of here, man. I'm sorry to end abruptly, man, but I got to get this money, son. This money, son. Get the dollar bill, y'all.
For sure, I appreciate you coming on here, bro. It's an honor to have you on here and talk to you. Hopefully,
man. I'll come back, man. I mean, y'all set me up, man. Let's do it a couple month or 2 later, man. We'll do it again, brother. No problems, man.
Yeah,
we'll pick up from where we left off, man.
Anyways, that's it for this episode of the Money Monopolizers podcast. New episodes will be released every Thursday and will be available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Just search Money Monopolizers wherever you listen to podcasts. If you enjoyed this episode, we hope you please rate it 5 stars and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. If you can also find out more info about us on Instagram at the Monopolizers or on Twitter you can find out more info about us on IG at Money Monopolizers or on Twitter at the Monopolizers. We post informative content on there that keep you engaged, so be sure to check that out and share those posts. But until then, we're out of here. Hey, man, it's been a minute. I ain't did one of these in a while.
You've been listening to the Money Monopolizers podcast, helping you take control of your financial destiny. To learn more about how you can be in control of your money, visit moneymonopolizers.com. We'll catch you next time when Alex and Marlon share more personal finance and wealth creation tips with you. Now it's time to take action.